Hello, welcome to 200. I'm Brian May, and I'm your professor this semester, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you as well as possible given the asynchronous format of our course. We will be meeting now and then, if only in this way that you now are meeting me. Of course, you'll be on the other end and you'll be live, won't you? So, without further ado, what I thought I would do is spend this video going over the syllabus with you a little bit so that you know exactly what to expect this semester. So, let's do that. Okay, ENGL 200.0Y01. Our course number is 2011, Literary Study, Research, and Criticism. You will be learning a little bit about research and a little bit about criticism this semester. There you have my name at the top and a designation of my office, Revis Hall 321. I think most of the time when you want to talk to me, we will talk online because it's an online course. The office hours, online office hours, Tuesdays noon to 1 p.m. and even more importantly, by appointment. You will at least know that I'm available every Tuesday at noon and would love to meet you in the classroom, in the actual Collaborate Ultra classroom, which is where we will have our meetings, typically. There will be times where perhaps we'll do a Zoom instead. Well, down below, the list of office hours and other information, you will see my two email addresses. You will get to know them a bit, especially the first one, which is a TB0BTM1, my NIU email address. So feel free to send me messages at either one of those addresses, probably in preference to the second one, the first one, but I include the second one anyway, just in case the first one is down. Well, there's the course description. My guess is you have read it already. Let me quickly go through it. 200 is designed to acculturate, to bring into the English department culture, prospective and beginning English majors. Our emphasis will be on the writing of sound pieces of literary critical analysis. We'll be doing a lot of writing, and we'll be talking about our writing. I'll be talking about your writing. We will also inquire into what makes such things, sound pieces of literary critical analysis, sound. That's why we will survey, as I say here in this paragraph, a few intrinsic, you'll find out what that means, and extrinsic critical approaches. We will also study the various forms and genres of literature. It's an introduction to literature as much as an introduction to literary study. Pay some attention to the history of literature and learn how to quote, document, and cite, how in short to cross T's, dot I's. In addition, finally, we will also learn a little bit about how to make use of the vast stores of existing literary critical commentary. There's the research side of it. So, what required texts am I asking you to purchase or otherwise acquire this semester? Well, most important of all, the Norton Introduction to Literature, shorter edition, 13th edition. You want to get the 14th edition, which is the brand new one. Kelly J. Mays is the editor, and she comes out with a new edition practically every year. But the editions don't really seem to change that much. So I think you could get by with the 14th edition, with the 13th edition, or with the 12th edition. So any one of those editions, and you should be in very good shape. And this business about with access, 13th edition with access, that of course refers to access to the electronic book form of the text. This is optional. It does cost a little bit more. It's not required. I know you guys might be very comfortable using the electronic edition as opposed to the paper edition. It's very nice to have the paper edition on your desk. And our assignments will require access only to the paperback edition, just so you know that you do not have to have it. You do not have to have that access. You do not need to purchase it. Well, the second required text, and interestingly, it's sort of semi-required. I want you to have access to this text. I'm not necessarily strongly advocating that you go out and buy it because it's very expensive. And it's surprisingly expensive. So what I want to suggest is that you go looking around for a used copy of it, okay, where you'll probably save at least $20 if you do that. I will also provide, in fact, I've already provided in the information drawer, a URL in which you can find in a very much older edition, but here too, surprisingly, the editions have not changed much as they have come out. There is some new stuff, obviously, in the 2023 edition as opposed to the 1997 edition, which is 26 years earlier. I don't know that there is a 2023 edition, but there is a much more recent edition. I don't know that you really absolutely need to have that, because what I will be doing is checking to make sure that what I want you to read is available in the 1997 edition. And when it's not, I will be posting it. So you could probably get by with what I posted online. And I know this is a new thing that we're really trying to be conscious of, is how much books cost and how much they set you back. And we're trying to minimize those costs as much as possible. So here's my attempt to do that. Part C, or item C, tentatively scheduled, a little bit more than tentatively. We're going to do it. And you don't need to buy this one. You can just download and print the University of Pennsylvania text, which features the original Muir translation of Franz Kafka's The Metamorphoses, written in 1917. And I've in fact included the link to it right here on this page. It's also on your syllabus. Well, this is your syllabus, so it's on your syllabus. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to read this book. Maybe you've read it before. Probably you haven't. And I think you're going to find it rather enchanting. And then we have a recommended text, which I recommend to all English majors, which is that you go out and buy the MLA handbook, which you will be making use of. And it's very nice to have a copy on your desk. And by the end of the semester, you'll see why. However, I'm recommending it, not requiring it. One of the reasons why is that most of what you need to know from this edition is actually available in the 13th or 14th or 12th edition of the Norton Introduction to Literature. And I will be keying some of your exercises to the Norton Introduction and its pages devoted to these questions of documentation that are covered at great length, exhaustively, by the MLA handbook. I think if you're an English major, it's very good to have this book around, okay? But it's absolutely not a absolute requirement, okay? So there's that. And down below, in small print, so I could fit it on the page, but this is no indication of its importance, its relative importance with in comparison to other items on the page. If you need an accommodation for this class, please contact the DRC, the Disability Resource Center. Please do so as soon as possible. I can only help to accommodate and provide accommodations for students who let me know that they require them. You, of course, have to have, if you are going to be accommodated, you will have to have the DRC prove such coordination and coordinate it. They will be in touch with me. You can be in touch with me as well. But it's something that has to be done if there are going to be accommodations. So do this sooner rather than later, I would strongly suggest, because, for reasons that are pretty obvious. Okay, if you have any questions about what's on this syllabus, I went through it rather quickly. It's a pretty simple syllabus. Then we'll talk about the schedule. That's next. Actually, it's the granular, as I call it, weekly or biweekly schedule is not next. What's next is indeed a quick rundown of the requirements for the course. So, see you in a second. Okay, here is the coursework, course format, what have you. I will be providing a master schedule as well that will give you due dates for the various these items below, which of course are listed, for example, numbers 3, 4, and 5. When is a midterm? When are the 1 to 1.5 page assignments? But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But the point is, you're going to get a larger schedule, a master schedule for these due dates, as well as a granular schedule, which I will be presenting to you in a few moments, right? What's going to be on these schedules? Well, one of the things will be a specification, of course, of what I want you to read every week so that you can take part in our weekly discussion board, right? Which my impression is that most of you have had some experience with discussion boards, and you know how to, the how-to of the discussion board, which on Blackboard means you go over to discussions. It's labeled pretty reasonably, and you hit discussions, and it becomes pretty self-explanatory at that point. These are a big part of this course, right? The weekly discussion board participation is actually worth 25% of the class, right? So what this involves is, there's going to be a routine. I'll be talking about this in the context of a particular example here in a few moments, right? Which is going to be the granular weekly, bi-weekly, in the case of the next module, so to speak, the next bit of business that we have to do, or in fact, our beginning bit of business. It will be a bi-weekly schedule that I will present to you here in a few moments. Often they will be weekly. But what these schedules will have on them is, in fact, the weekly routine, right? Which will be usually by Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. I will have posted a few questions, usually 3 of them. I begin posting them Friday at noon. You choose just one, not all 3. I hope you're listening. Just one of the items. This is all, of course, clarified on the rubric of the items themselves when you actually go to the discussion board. These instructions will be repeated, but you choose just one and you write a substantial, and I mean substantial, 1-paragraph response by Tuesday at 5 p.m. Remember, these will all be posted by Sunday at 5 p.m. and I'll begin posting on the Friday before that Sunday. That Tuesday of that week at 5 o'clock, I would like you to have your substantive and substantial 1-paragraph, 5, 6, 7, 8 sentences full of detailed commentary and quotation from the text in question in response to the question that I ask of your choice. I would like that by Tuesday at 5 p.m. Then, of course, all of you will have responded, in any typical week by 5 p.m. And there will be a number of these comments, right? Like we have 22 people in the class. I presume there will be 22 such paragraph, let's call them responses and not comments, that will be sitting there visible to you. By Thursday at 5 p.m., what I would like you to do is write a brief comment on one of your classmates' responses of your choice, okay? Which is to say, the second thing I would like you to do every week on the discussion board is, in fact, respond to something that was written by one of your classmates. And that is posted by Tuesday at 5 p.m. And you have until Thursday at 5 p.m. to write that response, which is another paragraph. It doesn't have to be maybe quite as substantive and substantial, quite as long as your own, substantial and substantive response due by Tuesday at 5 p.m., right? But it should be something that is, in fact, as I put it here, constructively critical. Can be a celebration, can be, in fact, a polite disagreement where you quote material, in fact, quote details from literary text in support of your own point. I wanted to mention here at this point in our discussion, or in my monologue, rather, on the business of the course, that this weekly discussion board participation grade is, it's the numbers indicate 25%. It's really, really important, isn't it? It's 1/4 of your grade for the semester. Nevertheless, I understand that things arise now and then, right? In the middle of a long semester, towards the end of a long semester. I trust not in the beginning of a long semester. That's not a good time to, in fact, use those 2 weeks off that I am permitting every one of you, right? No questions asked. You don't need to ask for permission. I will be keeping a close record of who doesn't respond, who does respond, who doesn't respond as well. And if you miss a week, I'm not going to say, hey, where were you? I'm just going to count that as one of your weeks. You miss the second week, I'm not going to ask you, hey, what happened? I'm just going to count that as your second week. And I'm not going to count off. The third time it happens, it's going to matter. And you probably will hear from me, but you might not. I mean, I will just, I've got 22 of you to keep together, to keep track of. And it might be very difficult for me to, I probably will get in touch with you if I see that third one, because of course that's at the point where a miss is quite consequential, right? I will have to, in fact, record a 0 for that week. So it will begin to chip away at what may be up to that point a very good discussion board participation grade. So you want to avoid that. You want to be consistent in your participation in our weekly discussion boards. We're not going to have one absolutely every week throughout the semester, but we will probably have 10 or 11 or 12 of them. And you want to make sure that you contribute to all but 2. Let's say we have 12, then you want to definitely do 10. Okay, so enough on that. I think you know about discussion boards and all the rest and how important they are. and how to do it. But if you don't, that's something that we could talk about privately. Feel free to send me an email message if you're a little bit bewildered. What am I talking about? I should think that you would be able to figure this out, right? Okay, if you haven't had experience with these before, and I think most of you have had experience. Okay, so number 2, we're gonna have reading quizzes. Now, one of those is due, if you're watching this Thursday afternoon, it is due tonight, right, by midnight. So you're going to have an experience of this rather quickly here. It's going to be a reading quiz on Antigone, as you know, which is something that I told you about, reminded you of in some announcements, right? And each reading quiz is going to cover the material assigned for the day on which you have the quiz, or the week on which you have the quiz, plus anything that since the past quiz. Now, that may seem a bit abstract at this point. What does that mean? When you look at the granular schedule, you will know. The other thing is I will be pointing out on the granular weekly schedules that you'll be getting that tell you exactly what you have to do for every week. I will be pointing out exactly what's on the quiz. I'll make that clear as a kind of quick reminder for you. But you should always know that when you have a quiz, it's, well, what's fair game? Everything since the last quiz, right? Usually the quizzes, so what I'm talking about these quizzes, what are they? What will they be? Short answer questions and identifications, okay? And I've already given you an example of such a quiz on, I think it's in the information drawer, so you might want to have a quick look at that. And what it does is give you some examples from this week. You know, you're reading Antigone, it's some examples of the kinds of questions that you'll be asked on Antigone. So have a look at that and you'll know what to expect, the kind of thing to expect. I won't repeat those exact questions, but you'll know the kind of thing to expect on the actual quiz, which will be due on the 20th by midnight. All but 2 of these grades, by the way, will count. Let's say I give you 12. That will work out very well for me mathematically. What that means is I will count only 10. And, obviously I'll count the best 10, not the worst 10, the best 10. I'll drop the 2 lowest grades. Which could occur, by the way. You may get one of your lower grades. I hope not both of them, and I certainly hope not more than 2. Could be acquired by you by your just simply neglecting to take a quiz. Just not taking a quiz that week will use up one of your misses. It's a little bit like the weekly discussion board participation grade, giving you 2 weeks off, 2 quizzes off, 2 discussion boards off. So you get 2 quizzes off, they don't hurt you at all, right? So, and you can use them whenever you want. And once again, no questions asked, which when you miss one, I'll just put a 0. What I will do is if you don't use those 2 misses, I'll just drop your 2 lowest grades. So what I found is that most students decide that they just want to take every single quiz and just, have the 10 best count. So that's a good strategy. So that's worth 15% of the grade. Okay, then moving on to the writing portion of the semester. Number 3, 10% of these short 1 to 1.5 page assignments that we could call squibs, right, that we'll be talking about as they approach. And those will be due on the Sunday nights in question for that week. You'll have one of these due pretty soon. They'll be due by midnight if that's Sunday. Okay. Number 4, a short literary analysis, a squib, which becomes a squib plus of a literary work on the syllabus, a draft which we revise and supplement a couple of times as we work towards an understanding of how to write a proper research paper. And what that is one of those 1.5 page assignments, or if neither one of them has really lent itself to such a use, a whole new paper, right? That is another one of those 1.5 page assignments that you develop a bit, okay? And try to turn into something a little bit longer, right? And it's something that we're going to work on, not throughout the entire semester, but through a number of weeks. And it will go through a number of permutations where you'll write something on your squib that will enlarge the squib and sharpen the squib and make it more comprehensive in its ambition and its coverage of the work and the issue that you're treating in your paper. And you'll submit it, and then I will respond. And we'll go through this sequence a couple of times. You get it back from me with my responses, and we'll try to take it to the next level, right, as we develop it a bit. So that's something that you will also see pointed out on, for example, the master schedule, and of course in the weekly granular schedules when they come out. I give one of those out every time a new module is in view, kind of like a new topic for the course comes into view. So it's usually every week or every couple of weeks you'll get, typically every week you'll get a new one of those granular modular schedules, which I'm about to show you here in a minute. Okay, an example of such. And it points out, okay, it will point out when, like the second, the second expansion of the squib is due this week at Sunday. Yeah. So all this will be made very clear in a timely fashion so that you can get your work done. Okay, so number 5, 15% of midterm exam, a few short writing assignments. And that week, certainly, we will not have a discussion board because, in a sense, a discussion board, the writing portion of the discussion board will be taken up by the midterm exam. And then we have a final examination that will be a lot like the midterm examination, but a little bit longer. And that's at the end of the semester. The midterm will come a little bit after the midpoint in the semester. So if you have any questions about the coursework, again, do feel free, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to send me a message and I will get back to you. Okay, here's that granular as opposed to the schematic schedule. The schematic schedule, of course, being the one that lays out the whole semester at a glance, tells you all the due dates for the papers and all the rest, whereas the granular is this, and this is what gives you the blow-by-blow schedule for the coming weeks. Typically, it will be 1 week. We'll take it week by week, but the first 2 weeks, for example, and I think there might be one other time where I give you a 2-week granular schedule. So the usefulness of this schedule is such that it, again, gives you a day-by-day account, even hour-by-hour account of exactly what it is that I would like you to do. So if you take a look at this, I think it's pretty self-evident, so I won't spend a lot of time going over it. But you will see that in the first of the 3 columns, I have the weeks, title of those couple of weeks, and that module. In this case, it's the intro module. After this, it'll be module 1, module 2, module 3, and so on. And I also give the weeks of the semester, weeks 1 and 2, with the dates. And I give you a quick and dirty account of what to read. In these 2 weeks, it's Antigone, and then it's Glaspell's Trifles. Okay? Then in the second column, what do I do but tell you what to read, what to watch, what to take in, right? In the very active way that students should do such things in a class of this kind. And as you will see, by Thursday at 8:31, that's today, by 2 p.m., I would like you to read Antigone, have it all read if you haven't already, because you have a quiz tonight, right? Due by midnight. You see that over there in the right-hand column, learning activities and assessments. Here's the first of your assessments. I like the assessments themselves to be learning activities. So sometimes it's not a choice between these two. It's, in fact, a coordinated exercise that itself teaches and also assesses. So here, Thursday by midnight, what I'd like you to do is finish that first quiz. And what that means is you should begin it by 11:30 p.m. at the very latest, since it auto-submits in 30 minutes. That means you can't stop the clock and go and look for the answers to the quizzes and then come back and finish your 30-minute quiz. Once you start the quiz, it runs, and it will just auto-submit after 30 minutes. So careful about that. Make sure you've read all the work before you begin the quiz, okay? Q1, this first quiz, which, by the way, will look like test 1 when you find it in the assessments drawer, right? And you know where to find the assessments drawer, which is right there on the Blackboard website. It'll say test 1. That's the same as Q1. Q1 will cover Antigone, and Antigone only will consist of identifications and other sorts of questions on plot and whatnot, and maybe even a few meditative questions. And the quiz has been available since last night. At roughly 8 o'clock, it turns out we've got some kind of a slowdown going on, or we did the last couple of days. I'm hoping we're over that now. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's posted by now. It was posted, I think, by about 8:45 last night, or 9 o'clock or so. So it should be available. Okay, so going back on the left, when you get done with your quiz, well, actually, there's some more stuff over here that has to do with this evening. By Thursday, 8:31, 11:30 p.m. at the latest before taking the quiz. It's not absolutely necessary, but why not, right? Watch a video, PowerPoint introductory lecture. Well, you're doing that right now, aren't you? And that will be available by 2 o'clock today. I'm finishing it this morning at about 9 o'clock, and it should be available very, very soon for you. So why not go ahead and watch that before you take the first quiz? It would give you that much more prep for the first quiz. But of course, you have a sample of the first quiz available in the information drawers, maybe you've seen. Okay, so once you get done with today's work, then you have Friday, by noon tomorrow, Friday, the discussion questions for the following week. We'll begin our discussion boards. It's exciting. These will begin to be posted. Okay, every Friday you'll have at least one posted roughly at around noon, typically by noon precisely. All questions will be posted by Sunday at 5 p.m. And I do it this way so that people who want to get ahead of the game and start on the discussion board over the weekend can do so. So I give at least one question by noon on Friday. All the rest of the questions follow at the absolute latest. They're all posted by Sunday at 5 p.m. so that you can begin to do your discussion board. Okay, well, in order to do the discussion board, you do have to do some reading. You have to read Antigone, obviously. You also have to read Glaspell's Trifles. You could actually probably get away without reading Trifles and just address one of the questions, because you're only addressing the question of your choice, one of the questions that is directed towards Antigone. But you're probably going to have to do this reading that I mentioned here that's due by 5 p.m. on Sunday. And again, that's a bit of an arbitrary date and time, but that's when all the questions will be posted, so it's a good time for you to target as a good time to have everything read. Read the following brief essays in the Norton. By the way, I want to apologize ahead of time for the quality of the copying. I'll see whether I can give you some slightly better copies. They're legible, but it's not a pleasure to read them because there's a lot of markings that somehow came through the page. So let me see what I can do about that. But in the meantime, make do, please. And then read the Edmondson essay, which is fairly brief and I think evocative. And then read through the Arnold essay. I don't expect you to read every word of it, but I think I've highlighted some passages in there that I think are especially valuable. And the Arnold essay was written over 100 years ago. And it shows you how little things have changed. People have been defending the humanities literally for centuries. It goes back to Sidney's Apology for Poetry, okay, and Percy Bysshe Shelley's Defense of Poetry, the latter in the 19th century. The other one was a Renaissance text. So in any event, get all this stuff read and get it read soon enough so that you can, by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, which is the due date, so that you can offer your discussion answer response, okay, by that time on Tuesday. And this is a substantial paragraph that's well written, makes claims, and supports its claims by citing and quoting textual evidence. In other words, it's not just substantial, it's 5 or 6 sentences, right? It's a solid paragraph. It's also substantive. What does that mean? It's got substance to it, intellectual substance. It's got an argument. It makes claims. It quotes in support of its claims. It digs into the text and makes claims. It's like a little essay. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do for your answer response. And then what I would like you to do, we have another quiz number 2 next Wednesday. You know about the quizzes, so I won't say anything about that right now. But by Thursday at 5 p.m., what I would like you to do is write a comment on a fellow student's answer response. So you're going to contribute an answer response by Tuesday, 5 p.m., and your fellow students are as well. And what I'm asking you to do is by Thursday at 5 p.m., right, every week, what I'd like you to do is comment on one of your fellow students' answer responses, not on your own, but on one of your fellow students' answer responses, okay? And you just hit the comment button in order to do so, just as you hit the reply button in order to offer the original answer response. Okay, so that's the routine. It's pretty simple. I believe that you will get in the swing of it very quickly. Something else is I'll be posting micro lectures, okay, typically one a week, and I'll be asking you to watch them. And here I'm asking you to do so by next Saturday, end of day, watch a second video PowerPoint. So get that watched by the end of the week. And then once you've watched it, you're done for that week, right? And you can move on to Module 1. And this will be the rhythm of every week. You'll get done at a certain point, move on to the next module. Once again, every Friday, you'll have the questions for the discussion board following that next week, or coming that next week, following the week at hand, will begin to be posted on Friday. So if you have any questions about the course at this point, I've laid it out, I think, in some detail, not exhaustive detail, but perhaps sufficient detail. So do feel free to send me an email message if you have any questions about what's going to happen. As I say, I think it's all going to become very clear very, very soon. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, so we're back to the Kafka Metamorphosis opera. Can you believe it? The Royal Opera House. Maybe we'll listen to that, a portion of it later on semester. Yeah, well, I'm going to let you go now. If you have any questions what to do next, let me know. My first response will be probably take a look at the pre-module because you probably can figure it out. I'm guessing that most of you are not going to have a lot of difficulty, negotiating your way through and determining what it is that's being asked of you. So take a good look at it now before you send me a message, but don't hesitate to send me a message if one persists beyond a close look at the information that's been set up for you, okay? I'm looking forward to a great semester with you all, and as you can tell, I'm very excited about the possibility of reading Kafka with you and sharing this extraordinary work of 20th century literature with you.